Has someone used your social security number to file taxes? If yes, I want you to really follow this video from A to Z. I'll explain to you what to do, how to really prevent this from happening again. So here are the facts I want you to really pay attention to. It's important to understand that when you actually talk about somebody using your social for tax filing, it's not just about the identity theft itself. It's just because you have other consequences potentially. Because if you owe a lot, you can owe a lot of cash. Especially if you realize that your tax return was rejected, you might be thinking, well, there's a problem with the tax preparer, the software that you use, or something else. But it's just because the IRS has separate data about your name in their system. Okay, so a duplicate or a fraudulent tax return can cause delays in receiving your refund for the year. At worst, it can lead to additional theft and fraud, from emptied bank accounts to fraudulent loans taken out in your name, or even criminal identity theft. So the risk can be really, really high. So if someone has used your social security number to file taxes, it is actually your responsibility to investigate and report the issue. Okay, and so now, can someone use your social to file taxes, and how bad is it? I mean, one thing for sure, tax identity theft occurs when someone steals your social to file taxes in your name and claim your refund. So that's really what it is. Pretty straightforward. So typically, a scammer only needs your name, birthday, and social security number to commit tax return or fraud. Unfortunately, fraudsters have more ways than ever to obtain stolen socials. They could purchase your social on the dark web after it's been leaked in a data breach, okay? Or steal your mail, sensitive documents, ID cards such as your driver's license, and or even trick you into providing personal information by targeting you with a phishing attack. Okay, so even worse, in many cases, the criminals behind the tax identity theft are unscrupulous tax preparers, or even victims' own family members. I mean, you never know. Okay, your own family member. So once a scammer has your social, here's how tax identity theft plays out. Identity thieves use your stolen information to create an online e-file account in your name, or file a fraudulent paper return. Next, they add fake income and benefits information to max out the return amount. They also change the deposit and contact information so that they receive the tax refund and you will not receive a notification. And when you file your legitimate tax return, the IRS will reject it, as there's already been a return filed under your name. Let me talk to you about the methods here. First of all, how to tell if someone has filed taxes in your name, right? I mean, unfortunately, it's not always evident when someone has filed taxes in your name or used, let's say, your social for other types of identity theft. Many victims only discover the fraud when they attempt to file their taxes, or if they even receive an IRS form asking for more information about the fraudulent return. So by catching the warning signs of tax identity theft, it's really important to minimize the damage that identity thieves can do to your name. So here I want to share with you some of the biggest warning signs that someone used your social to file taxes. If your tax return is rejected, I mean, you know that you have done everything correctly, but if your return is rejected, if scammers file taxes using your social security number before you do, the IRS will inform you that your legitimate tax return was denied due to, let's say, a duplicate, social. Okay, you can also receive a letter 5071C from the IRS. The IRS sends this fraud alert notice if they see signs of identity theft on your return. Okay, if you receive a W-2 or a 1099 form for a job that you didn't work, scammers may be using your personal information or EIN to work or even run an illegal business. If you receive tax transcripts that you didn't request in the first place, taxpayers can request tax transcripts to help file their returns. If scammers forget to change your address before requesting your transcripts, you may receive the transcripts. If you get an alert that your social security number was found online, okay, so if your social was found on the dark web or is being used by scammers, you might get some kind of info if you sign up for an identity theft prevention service. If you see unfamiliar background checks on your e-verify account, so if an employer you don't recognize has requested a background check, this likely signifies that you are the victim of employment identity theft. And also, if you are notified, let's say if you're notified that an online IRS account has been created in your name, this can happen if the person opens an IRS.gov account using your social but doesn't change the contact information. And if the IRS has employment information that you don't recognize, scammers will often report a salary that you didn't earn to increase tax withholding refunds. So what should you really do here if let's say someone used your social to file taxes? I mean, as soon as you see signs that your social was used to file, let's say, a fraudulent tax return, you need to act quickly, very quickly. The first thing you want to do is you want to notify the IRS immediately and file a form 14039. This is a form that I want you to remember, form 14039. So how you respond to ID theft and tax fraud will depend on whether you notice it before or after the IRS does. So what to do if you notice signs that your identity was stolen before the IRS does? Well, you want to file your paper tax return and include a form 14039. It's called the identity theft affidavit. You can see this on the screen right now. So this form informs the IRS that you believe you are a victim of identity theft. You will need to mail it to the IRS address in your state or to the address where you would normally send it. So that's the first thing you want to do. What should you do if the IRS informs you that first that your identity was stolen or possibly, let's say, possibly stolen? The IRS will send you a 4883C or 6330C letter with a request that you verify your identity and declare that you did not file the false tax return under investigation. You also likely have to speak to an IRS agent over the phone, or you may need to visit your local IRS tax assistance center. That way you have a clear idea this stuff is happening under your name, and this will also help you officialize or at least instill a layer of formality into the whole process, so the IRS will know who is who, and this also allows you to show to the government that you're not actually playing shenanigans with your return. I mean, nobody plays shenanigans. I mean, nobody actually has sin in their mind will want to play shenanigans with their taxes. So it's always good to actually clarify that to the government so they know you're not playing games. Another thing you want to do here is to respond to any IRS letters, okay? 5071C, CPO1E, etc. The IRS actively reviews tax returns for possible fraud. So if they see anything suspicious, there are several different letters they might send requesting more information. Here is what this IRS letters mean and what you should do when you receive one. So the 5071C letter. So if you receive this letter, you will be asked to use the online identity and tax return verification service to basically verify your identity and let the IRS know if you're sending the return on the question. And if you receive a 5071C, you don't have to file an identity theft affidavit because the IRS already know. However, you need to follow all the instructions in the letter. Everything will be said in the letter. What about CPO1E letter? The IRS will send this letter if they suspect someone else used your social to gain employment. If you receive this letter, this is no known tax identity theft. However, you should check your finances and tax accounts for any signs of fraud because there could be a problem. Okay, it's one of those things where it's better to be proactive than reactive. And one thing I want to say here is that when you actually reply to the IRS, timing is critical. As you want to reply as fast as possible. Don't really sit on the letter and don't leave it like, don't put it in a closet or whatever. No. You want to really respond as soon as possible because there could be financial consequences. There could be regulatory consequences. There could be other consequences too to your good name. So it's really essential to respond to any letters that you receive because the IRS will not be able to process your tax return until you submit a response. I want to really repeat that. the IRS will not be able to process your tax return until you submit a response. So you do not want to be late there. So for additional help, you can call the IRS Identity Protection Specialized Unit's phone number at 1-800-908-4490. We'll put this number on the screen. So again, the number is 1-800-908-4490. The next thing you want to do here is to request a copy of the fraudulent tax return, okay? The IRS will provide a copy of the fraudulent tax return to help you identify the criminal or look for further instances of identity theft. You can only request a copy as a primary or secondary taxpayer. And the IRS may also redact some sections of your tax return to protect you against additional risks, okay? Now, let me explain to you how to request a copy of a fraudulent tax return made in your name. First thing first, you want to fill out Form 4506F. You can see this on the screen here. So, and the form is called Identity Theft Victims Request for a Copy of Fraudulent Tax Return. Okay, I mean it's a long title, but it is what it is. So this form is very detailed. So every information that you put on this form has to be, you have to fill out this form in all granularity. It has to be as detailed as possible. And you can submit the form by mail or fax, not both, okay? You have to choose the path that works for you. I mean, usually victims like to send it via fax because fax is just a lot quicker, unless you send it overnight via USPS if you mail it, okay? Now the mailing address is, we'll put this on the screen. The mailing address is Department of the Treasury, IRS, Fresno, California, 93725. Again, Department of the Treasury, Internal Revenue Service, Fresno, California, 93725. The toll-free fax number is 1-855-807-5720. So you want to include a cover letter or a cover sheet labeled confidential so that the IRS know this is confidential information. And so the IRS will acknowledge receiving your request within 30 days of receiving it. You should receive the tax return or a follow-up correspondence within 90 days. Sometimes it can be shorter depending on the backlog that the IRS is currently working on. If they're free, if they have extra capacity, they'll respond a lot faster. So that's really good from that point of view. Next, you want to report the fraud to the FTC, law enforcement, and your bank, because there could be a connection with your bank, especially your bank account. So tax identity theft can be a warning sign of even worse types of identity theft. So as soon as you have dealt with the immediate fraud, one thing you want to do is you want to contact the FTC, so the Federal Trade Commission, and so you also want to contact your local police and your bank to notify them of the fraud. So how do you report identity theft to the FTC? Well, go to identitytheft.gov, click Get Started, and then select the option, Someone Filed a Federal Tax Return Using My Information. And you want to follow the instructions and include as many details as you can, such as a copy of the fraudulent tax return that you got from the IRS in the first place. That's why it's important to get it from the IRS, okay? And after you submit your report, you will receive an official identity theft report from the FTC, along with a personalized recovery plan. Keep your FTC report close by, as you will need it when you report the fraud to other agencies and companies. So that's for the FTC. What about the local law enforcement agency? So how do you report the fraud to your local law enforcement? Well, you want to call or go in person to your local law enforcement office. Explain that you were the victim of identity theft and that someone filed a tax return in your name. And be prepared to provide as many details as possible, right? It's all about being granular. If you already have a copy of your FTC report, the police may want a copy as well. So request a copy of the report you filed with law enforcement and keep it on your file. Your bank or credit card companies may request a copy. It's all about being organized here, okay? So you may also want to consult with a lawyer or get independent legal advice to decide on your next step. You never know how far this thing could go. So that's the second thing. How do you report the fraud to your bank or a credit union, for that matter? So it could be your bank, it could be a credit union. So you want to contact your bank or credit union or even the lender's fraud department and inform them that you are the victim of identity theft. They will most likely close or freeze your accounts to limit the damage, and you may actually be asked to provide specific information about the identity theft, including your FTC and police reports. So this is kind of important to think about. Now, one thing for sure, these steps can be time consuming, but they can also protect you from the consequences of a further identity theft and fraud. So if you think about someone using, if someone has used your social security number to file taxes, it's important to really pay attention to how things can work from there. So what you want to do is you want to freeze or lock your credit with all three credit bureaus, because the whole thing is you want to limit the consequences. Okay, so freeze or lock your credit with all three credit bureaus. So one of the worst consequences of tax identity theft is that if scammers use your social or information from your tax documents to open new credit accounts. So freezing or locking your credits with all three credit bureaus individually, Equifax, Experian, or TransUnion, can prevent thieves from opening new accounts or taking out loans in your name. So here's how to contact each of the three credit bureaus. We'll put this on the screen. For Experian, you have Experian Freeze Center, Experian Security Freeze, P.O. Box 9454, Allen, Texas 75013. The number is 1-888-397-3742. We'll put this on the screen. For Equifax, you have Equifax Credit Report Services, Equifax Information Services LLC, P.O. Box 105788, Atlanta, Georgia 30448 5788. The number here is 1-800-685-111. And then you have a TransUnion, so TransUnion Credit Freezes, TransUnion LLC, P.O. Box 2000, Chester, Pennsylvania 19016. And the number here is 1-888-909-8872. So freezing your credit is a free process and will not impact your credit score. So Equifax and TransUnion provide actually locking services for free, but Experian's program may charge for the service. So something to think about. And next, what you want to do is you want to check your credit reports for signs of fraud. So when checking your credit reports or financial statements, you want to look specifically for, let's say, inconsistencies or unfamiliar information, such as bank accounts, credit cards, or loans that you didn't take out. And you also want to check your monthly credit card statements for any charges that you didn't make in the first place. Report this immediately, as your credit card company may be able to reimburse you for some or all the charges, but only if you report them in a timely manner. Also, you want to check your bank statements, your bank account statements for unfamiliar withdrawals, new accounts, or loans for which you didn't apply. So if you find fraudulent financial information, contact the impacted financial institution as soon as possible to report the fraud. Consider signing up for identity theft protection. That could also help you. So identity theft and tax fraud cannot always be avoided. However, you can increase your protection and limit any damage by signing up to, let's say, an identity theft protection with Social Security number monitoring. So let me give you a few considerations before we close to this conversation. So how long does it take the IRS to investigate identity theft? Well, the IRS states that its goal is to finish investigations within 4 months, 4 months or less, so 120 days or less. But this can vary depending on the complexity of your case and the number of cases being investigated, with some cases taking anywhere from 180 days to 430 days. So here is what happens when the IRS discovers that your identity has been stolen. So as I said this to you before, the IRS will send you a letter within 30 days of receiving the report of your tax identity theft case. And IRS employees specifically trained to investigate tax identity theft will then work on your case. And this includes ensuring that your latest return is correctly processed, fraudulent files have been removed from your account, and that you have been issued an appropriate refund, okay? And your account will be flagged to help detect future fraudulent filings. And after all issues have been resolved, your case will be closed and you will be notified. So you can periodically check in with the IRS on the status of your case while it's under investigation. Now, how do you protect your personal information this tax season? Well, You want to safeguard your social. Keep documents and letters with your social security number in a secure place and shred them when no longer needed. Try to use a different form of identification when asked to provide your social security number online. File your taxes early. So if you file your taxes early, scammers will not be able to reach or even submit fraudulent returns in your name. You want to regularly check your social security number statements for, let's say, inconsistencies, and you can access your statement from the SSA, the Social Security Administration, and look for income and employment information that you don't recognize. It's all about you being sure that you are recognizing the kind of stuff that's going on in your name, right? That's really important to think about it that way. And the bottom line here is that you also want to be proactive here. The more proactive you are, the better. You want to, let's say, secure your online accounts with strong passwords and 2FA, two-factor authentication. And hackers often try to access your online accounts to mine for personal data. So strong passwords and two-factor authentication can keep your online information safe. Learn to spot the signs of phishing scams. Be careful of any, let's say, unsolicited message, phone calls, or emails. That's important to think about that way. You want to claim your E-Verify account. This prevents scammers from filing taxes online under your name. And you want to request an identity protection personal information number and get your mail every day. And you want to research tax preparers. It's all about making sure that you are trusting the people that you are sort of allocating your tax data to. So in conclusion to this conversation, I spoke to you about what to do if someone has used your social to file taxes. I give you the facts, the methods, the considerations, and the conclusion. Thank you so much. God bless you. I'll see you next time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.